Guys, good morning. All right. So the next thing, what we are going to start, it's a new topic, analytics. Now, let me first of all introduce you the topic, and then we're going to study how we can design uh, the analytics part in the Salesforce. First of all, what does it means by the analytics? See, the analytics actually, it means getting the what to say, getting the abstracted informations. And it's a usual process, and it's a very common process. It's a commonly followed practices for every sort of businesses. Why? Because every business want to keep the records of whatever the process is going on. Like, for example, if there is a manufacturing unit, you know so this manufacturing unit, for example, from Monday to Saturday, from Monday to Friday, if they are doing the productions, if they are manufacturing certain instruments, certain devices, they wanted to keep the track of like how much units have been manufactured, right? How much raw material has been consumed, how much work, has been completed properly, has been in the pending state. How many employees were being, or how many workers, have been involved during this whole week of manufacturing. Or let's say if there is a financial organization, so they wanted to keep the record of like how much revenue they have generated in this particular week, maybe in this particular month. So it is something like, every business maintains their databases. All right. And let's say that they wanted to represent this whole statistics. So there are two general forms of that. The one is a tabular information, something like your Microsoft Excels, where you can see the representation of data in terms of tables. So that is one way to represent the information in the form of tables. And the another way is something, a graph, something like a diagram. All right. So Salesforce as a part, and that is what first of all is called as analytics. When we say this word analytics, what is the significance of analytics in the business? Let's first of all understand, and then we're going to see what are the features of analytics is being provided in the Salesforce. So as I was discussing with you, like for every business, for every organization, keeping the track of how much, maybe how much production they are doing, how much units they are selling. Or maybe like, how much profit they are generating, how much revenues, how much losses they are bearing. So every organization keep a track of all this. Now, there could be multiple ways of keeping this records, but let's say I wanted to represent all this information to maybe to my manager. For example, if every Friday, there is one organization where every Friday one meeting is conducted. All right. Let's consider that there is one XYZ organization where every Friday one meeting is conducted, and somebody, in a team, somebody actually represents all those informations. and he keep ready one presentation because that is the person who has to represent, I mean, what this week, how this week was been spent. So he used to, he used to present all this to everybody in the meeting, right? So this person, when he is representing this whole scenario, that in this particular week, from this Monday to Friday, we were being able to process this much of the raw material, and we were being successfully have created this much of the unit of that product, XYZ product. And these were the losses that we bear. And this, and all the statistics, I just wanted to throw some examples for this. So all these statistics, what he actually bringing up into the presentation, that is something called as analytics. That is something called as analytics. Now, there are two different ways to represent your statistical data. One is the tabular way, using reports. Reports is something, a tabular representations. Or maybe a dashboard. Now, what is a dashboard? We're going to see that. Dashboard is actually a graphical representation of your data. Now, it includes several things like pie chart, line chart, horizontal bar chart, vertical bar chart. There are so many different, actually 9 different ways which you can represent your tabular information into some sort of diagram. All right, that is what we are going to learn in the part of analytics. So Salesforce Analytics. Analytics is one of the feature of Salesforce that have two standard objects, that have two standard features into this, that is reportings and dashboards. Reports and dashboards. We would going to cover both of them, but first I would going to start with reports. See, what is a report? Let's first of all see that, and then we're going to come into, let me try to show you first of all. So if you wanted to learn reports, we must have a tab over here, either report, either dashboard. We can bring both of them or either of one would also work. So I would going to customize this tab bar first of all. And let me bring a report over here. Reports. Let me place it just adjacent to opportunities. So now we have reports tab over here, right? Let me try to open this. So even though if you just bring report or maybe dashboard, this 1 and 5, it's one and same thing. In both of the cases, the interface is the same. So you can bring one of them, that would work. Now see, when we come to this interface, when I click onto the reports tab, as you can see, there are so many folders that I can see over here, right? There are so many folders: unfiled, public, reports, my personal custom reports, my personal dashboard, Einstein bot, opportunity report, account and contact, sales report, lead, support, campaign. There are so many folders. And by the way, for example, if I make a click onto any one of them, what you see right now, these are reports. Let me try to show you one of them. So this is one of that kind of report, all right? There are so many of them as well. If I click on, for example, lead, and there's a report called as bounce lead. When I make a click onto this, I can see this. Now, whatever we are looking right now, let's try to first understand this. See, there are two things what I have identified. As soon as I click onto the reports tab, I can see that Salesforce has given us a few of the sample reports. Like if you make a click onto this, inside every folder, you can see that there are few of the reports, right? Now, because we have not created any one of them. This is the first time when I'm visiting, you are visiting this reports folder, reports tab. But I can see that there are few of the folders over here. And these folders have some of the reports inside them. So any such thing, we have an habit where you see something which was already there and you have not created. So these reports, we can call them as a standard report. Any such quantity, any such entity, what you have not created, but still it is there inside the org. You can call it as a standard functionality, a standard feature. So all these reports, what you can see right now into these folders, they are standard reports. They are what? Standard reports. And these, why the standard reports are there? Just to help you out. Just to help you out to have an understanding how does reports looks like to be. This was the first thing. There are so many standard reports over here. You can use them if you want. You can even customize them. Or you can simply create a new report, a whole customized new report. It's up to you what you want. But there are so many standard reports which has already been given to us so that we could study them, we could understand the concept of reportings and all that. So they are the standard reports. That was the first thing what you have to identify. And the second, every report is always present inside a folder. If you are creating a report, you will be going to understand this every interface, don't worry. If you are creating a report, you must understand one thing, that reports, whenever you try to save it, whenever you try to save a report, it would ask you, where do you want it to store this report, into which folder? Report must always be present inside a folder. Reports must always be present inside a folder. What is point number one, what we studied so far? There are so many standard reports out there. There are so many standard reports. And the second point, every report must always be stored, must always be present inside a folder, Now, because you can see there are so many different types of folders. These are what? These are standard reports. Even these folders, I can call them as a standard folder. Why? Because I have not created any one of them. These folders, what I can see, all of them, unfiled, my personal, Einstein, account, opportunity, sales, lead, support, whatever. They were already present. And I have not created any one of them. So because they were already present, I could call them as a standard folder. These are the standard folders. So every report must always be present inside a standard folder. Oh, sorry, I just messed up with the point. Point number two is every report must always be present inside a folder. Not essentially standard, because you are going to learn how to create a custom folder as well. So reports can be inside a custom folder, inside a standard folder. Important over here is like, report must always be present inside a folder. That is the point number two. All right. Let's come to point number three. Can we create our own custom folder? Yes, of course we can. Yes, of course we can. See, today I'm feeling a little bit low. My energy would not be that much of impressive, but you have to understand. I cannot raise my voice. I mean, it started like, if I try to do that, I started doing cough and all that. But you have to manage. I simply cannot give you holidays. We are having so many of holidays. We already have been passed. It's almost like, 20 to 25 days, the syllabus has been extended. And most probably I could also announce your class to be taken on Saturday, every Saturday. So from this weekend itself, I could start taking your batches from Monday to Saturday because I have to cover lots many things. If I feel, I could also take it on Sunday. So you are probably not going to get any holidays till the time I'll complete this admin part. This would also happen because I have to cover. I have given you so many holidays. There were so many circumstances for which we have missed up. And it's almost like 20, 25 days has been extended. So we have to cover at least 15 of them. So you have to concentrate, all right? You have to concentrate. I could sound a little low, but you have to concentrate. So point number 2 was like, every report must always be present inside a folder. That is very essential to understand. You cannot keep a report outside the folder. There is no possibility. If you create a report and you wanted to save it, you have to select the folder as well where this newly created report is going to get stored. So that was point number 2. And now point number 3. I can see there are so many folders. All of them are standard. All of them are standard. Can I create my own custom folder? Yes, we can do that. Then how to do that? How we can create the custom folder? Because let's consider, I just don't want it to use any one of them. If I would be creating a report in coming days, I don't want my report to be present inside any one of them. Rather, I wanted it to get stored inside my own custom folder. How to create that? There's a button for creating new report. Also, there's a button to create the dashboard. But where is that button to create a new folder? So for that, you have to, you have to look over here. You have to look over here. There's a small quick list sort of menu where you can see. If you make a click over here, it's just open a drop down where I have 2 options. I could create a new report folder, one folder for storing all reports, also one folder for storing all of the dashboards. So this way, I'm just clicking on to new report folder. I'm creating my own custom folder. Let's say, what is the name of this? HR management reports. All right. I'm giving this name. You can give any name for this. HR management reports. This is what the name I have given. Now you see one folder has been added. You see one folder has been added over here. This is my custom folder. All right. That was point number 3. Point number 1, there are so many standard reports. Point number 2, every report must always present inside a folder, and we can create our own custom folder as well as you have seen. What is a way to that? That was, I think, point number 2 or 3. I just mess up. But the next point, see. If, for example, if these many are the reports inside this folder, all right. Now, every report have 3 different kinds of access. Every report have 3 different kinds of access. Viewer access means permissions. Whenever somebody is accessing a report particularly, we can give 3 different sort of permissions to them. First is viewer permission. The second one is editor permission. The third one is manager permission. On every report, there could be 3 different types of permissions: viewer, manager, and editors. Now, if you grant somebody as a viewer permission, for example, I created a report and then I give you, for example, Akash. Akash is trying to access this report. I have given him viewer permission. So what Akash can do would be like, he can just open a record. He can just open that report and he could see that. He could run the report. When you run the report, it would get open. You are going to learn that how exactly. Just don't mess up yourself with the technical terminologies. In a simple word, you can open the report. Running a report means opening a report. So if to Akash, if I am given him a viewer permission, I created a report and I wanted that Akash should also have an access to this report. But then at the same time, I don't want that he should modify anything out of that report. It's just like sitting in a stadium and looking a match like an audience. You cannot play with the players. You just have to see what is going on there. So to the Akash, I have given a viewer permission. In that case, Akash can only run the report and sees, right? Next to Bhagyashri, I have given her an editor permission. All right. To Bhagyashri, I have given her an editor permission. Now, what Bhagyashri could do in that case? She could run a report, see the data, and if she wants, she could even edit the data because I've given her an editor permission. All right. But what she cannot do, what is that she can't do? She can't delete that record. I mean, even if you are an editor, you can run, you can edit, but you can't delete that report. If you wanted, the person should also have the rights to delete, you have to make him a manager. Like, for example, if somebody, inside the class, let's say, let Pallavi. To Pallavi, I make her as a manager. I mean, I give manager permission to the Pallavi. So what she can do would be like, she first of all would have a full access. She can open, run the report, see the data. If she wants, she can even customize that. You can change the data. And if she wants, she could also delete that because she's having a manager permission, a manager access. So to every report, there are 3 different kinds of permission. There are 3 different kinds of access. Viewer, editor, manager. Viewer, editor, and manager. That was one thing. Another thing. See, these permissions, you have to give this onto folder, not to onto report. What does it mean? What does it mean? All right. Let me try to draw one diagram. For example, see if this is one of the folder. All right. If this is a folder and I'm having so many reports inside this. This is a folder. I'm having so many reports over here. These all are the reports. I mean, you understand one thing that if you create a report, it must be, it must reside inside a folder. So I created all these reports. All right. And then I stored them inside a folder because that's very important. You cannot you cannot save a report unless you decide on which folder it's going to be got stored. So these are the reports and they are present inside this folder. Now see, when we talk about giving access permissions, these 3 are the set of permissions. These are the 3 set of permissions that I could give. Now, I cannot give them individually on reports. I cannot say that this report would have viewer permission, and this report would have editor permission, and this report would have manager permission. I cannot decide it like this. That's not possible. That's not possible. You cannot give it like this. Individually on reports, you cannot give permission. This permission has to be given. This permission has to be given on folder. Like, for example, I have given onto this folder, I have given editor permission. To this folder, I have given editor permission. What does it mean? If the folder is having editor permission, all of the reports inside this folder would have same permission. If you have given, for example, onto this folder, if you have given manager permission, then all of the reports inside this folder would have a manager permission. If you have given a viewer permission to this folder, then all of the reports inside that would have, a viewer permission. So permissions, there are 3 different types of permissions, but we cannot give them individually on reports. Rather, we have to give it onto the folder. And when we give the permissions to the folder, all of the reports inside that folder would having the same permissions. So if you allot a viewer permission, an editor and manager, that was going to be applicable to all of the reports inside that folder. So if I created one folder over here, HR management. Now, if I make a click over here, let's pick pin onto the top. So it's coming over the top. And when I say share and edit and delete, if you click on edit, you can edit the names and all that. And if you wanted, I mean, if you just wanted to delete, you can do that as well. If you delete this, obviously it's going to be gone. Now there's a link called a share. See, when I click this share, once again, concentrate over here. So when I share this, now I would going to decide to which particular user, what kind of permission I wanted to give. So you can select the user from the user object, from the role object, from role and subordinate, from a public group, as you can see. Now, what are these roles, internal, external, subordinates, and public group? You'll be going to learn this in the user management. That's a part of security. In the coming days after this topic itself, I'll be going to start the second last thing of the admin training, that is security. Inside the security, there is a topic called as user management, where you are going to learn this all things. All right. Anyways, so I would be selecting users from here. All right. Where I click, let me show you once again. I clicked on users. Now, these are like some of the standard user I'm having. Now, integration user. This folder, HR management reports folder. To the integration user, let me give the rights. So to the integration user, see, there are 3 different types of rights. I make him a viewer. To the security user, I make him like an editor. And let me click on to done. All right. So, and the training batch, which is of course us, is managed. Now, what would going to be happen would be like, whenever you create a report and you store it inside HR management reports folder, all of the report, though I have not created anyone right now, but I'll be creating that. So all of the reports that would be there inside this folder, if this user, integration user, would access them, he's having a viewer access, he's having a viewer permission, that this user can only see the records, see the reports. He cannot go beyond that. If the security user, for example, he would access the reports which are there inside this folder. Now, because security user has given an editor permission, he could run the report, he could also edit up to certain. I mean, if he wanted to edit certain values, he could also do that. Integration user cannot do that. And the training batch user, which is us, of course us, but let's consider for a time being this is somebody else. So this user is a manager. He could access, he could run the report, he could edit the report if he want, he could even delete that report because he's the manager. So this is how, you give the permissions. This is how you give the permissions. But that permissions, whatever you wanted to give, viewer, editor, manager, that cannot be given individually on a single report. These permissions are always given onto folder. All right. So all of those reports which are there inside the folder, if you give this one of them permission, so it's going to be applicable for every report onto inside that folder. Right. That is, I mean, some of the introductory thing that you should have an idea about before we start discussing how many different types of reports are there. So these are some of the informations, you should have as a primary information you should know about the reports. So once again, and I'll suggest you, after this lecture has been over, just go with this all theory. Let's go with this all theory, whatever I have written over here. Please read this once. I'm not sure whether you guys are following this document or not. But at least, whenever you are revising this topic, whatever I have taught in the live session, because you probably now, every one of you know this, I usually don't read it. I just don't read the notes. Whatever I describe it from my own way. So might be possible कि कुछ ऐसा important होगा यहाँ लिखा हुआ, which I just forgot to mention because I don't go with that point. तो जब आप पढ़ाई करते हो ना, whenever you revise the topic, एक बार, at least once, you should go with all this. एक बार आप लोग को देख लेना चाहिए कि क्या लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है। चलिए, now let's come to this. How many different types of reports are there? There are 4 types of report: tabular report, summary, joint, and matrix. These are the 4 different types of reports: tabular report, summary report, joint reports, and matrix report. These are the 4 different types of reports. We're going to cover every one of them, and we also would have to understand majorly what are the differences between every type of a report. You would be going to learn a few more things about every feature of a particular type of reports. All right. So today it's 8:10. I'll start it by tomorrow morning. I just started by tomorrow morning. By tomorrow morning, I'll start with tabular report. I'm going to finish it in the same day. Okay. Let me now give you this command. If you wanted to discuss anything, please go on, unmute yourself. Yes. Any questions?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Sir, whenever we create a approval process, then why not show in why not show in account objects like action, that is approval history? I know it's edit from edit layout, but not showing there.
When you submit and record for the approval, in that case only it's going to appear over here. I mean, see, if I just create a new record,
Yes.
all right, if I create a new record, and whatever you wanted to select, all right, whatever you wanted to select, and just save it. So this is not going to appear into the approval history unless you submit it for approval. Right now, you just created a record. You haven't created that automation. It's a good question. It's a good thing what you have just asked me. Because see, I have not created any automation which would automatically submit the record. I have to do it manually, submit for approval. When I submit this for approval, it would going to appear into your approval history section. Now, as you can see, it's pending. Yesterday, it was showing approved. You remember yesterday it was it was automatically approved as soon as you submit, and that's the reason, I just log in into 204 batch to take this example. Sometimes it's literally strange, and you becomes clueless. Okay, why this is happening? देखो कल का दिन था वो जब as soon as I submit a record for approval, it was approved. And all intermediate states, nothing happened. Right now, see, the status become in process. And this was not happening yesterday. Why? I don't know. Today, this is working fine. Sometimes this happens, it's a little bit strange, everything. Anyways, so when you submit a record for approval, then it appears. All right, this appears in the approval history if it has been submitted. If you just create a record, it's not automatically going to come over here. And let's say now if I reject this record, and if I reject it, so the status becomes rejected, and in the approval status, it comes out to be rejected. That is what, right? As I will. Now, see, this was like a manual submission. It was a manual submission. We can automate this as well. Okay, we can even automate this. So how? Let's go to the setup menu, and I'll just show you, and I'll give you this an example in the assignment. Just go with like process builder or flows or workflow. In the workflow, it's not possible. You can do this either with the process builder or maybe with the flows. I'm just creating a new process builder containing the process builder, and let me give the name as submit account record for approvals. Take care. In the description, let me copy the same thing. Let me show you this as the record changes. I'm adding this onto account object. Whenever the record is created, I just wanted to this happen, not on the updated, but on the created, let's say. Add the criteria. So you wanted to add criteria. I just simply, I give the name, no criteria, and I'll go with no criteria. Or I can check for certain. If you want, we can check for this as well. Check for the conditions. Let's say any such record where the industry, maybe like industry, is banking. I just wanted to, only push that record for the approvals. You can define multiple conditions. I'm just showing you the example. So any such record of account where the industry is banking, then only that record would be getting pushed for the approval process. Otherwise not. An add action. From here, I can select submit for the approval. Account record approval. You can give any name. Go with the default. You can go with the default or a specific approval. Let me select a specific one because I already have an approval process. Yes. So I can select that. Yesterday itself we designed. So when you go with specific, so it would provide the facility to select. If you have multiple approval process, all of them would be listed out over here, and you have to select that option. So I have this account approval process. Script the entry criteria. Do you want it to script? In the approval process itself, you have designed some entry conditions. The same you could plan for here as well. अगर देखो entry conditions आपने वहां मेंशन कर रखी हैं और यहां भी मेंशन कर रखी हैं, तो you can skip that. You can skip that over here. आप skip कर सकते हो, right? Otherwise आप दोनों जगह भी चेक कर सकते हो, ठीक है? So I'm selecting specific and selecting this. Do you want it to skip? I don't require it. You can skip or chhod do. Who is the submitter? Current user. Any submission comments? No, I just don't want you to give that. Or maybe I can give this is automatically submitted for approval from the business automations, right? And then submit, save. So this is what I have selected, and let me now activate this, confirm. So now I created a business automation where what is going to be happen would be every such record where the industry would be banking at the time of creation would automatically getting submitted for approval. Let's say I would be selecting as I would be selecting as Akash record for approval. Now let me select the industry as banking. And I'm just skipping. No, this has to be done. Yes. And the active status is yes. In the approval process, these two are the mandatory condition. Where in the flow, where in the process builder, this one is the only condition. So now see if I save it. If I save it and I go to the approval history. So this record automatically is getting submitted. I just have created that. I haven't manually submit. मैंने यहाँ पे button है ही नहीं यहाँ पे कि submit that for approval. Now this record is automatically getting submitted for approval. How come this is possible? Because आपने automation बना रखा है. Because आपने automation बना रखा है. So if the condition would match, then and then only. ठीक है. अभी यहाँ पे कैसा था? Because the records industry was banking. So this has been submitted for the approval. और approval process में भी आपने दो condition डाल रखी कि industry should be banking and active status should be yes. तो अगर आप ठीक है तो because the conditions were matching, so it has been submitted automatically for the approval. ठीक है, and the status become in process. वो तो फिर ये तो सारा आपका approval process से हो रहा है. यहाँ पे आपके प्रोसेस बिल्डर का कोई लेना देना नहीं है. The process builder would just match the condition कि यार account record है, उसका industry banking है, तो उसको अपन ने सबमिट कर देना. And let's say if you try, for example, अगर आप कोई दूसरा रिकॉर्ड बनाते हो, ठीक है, you create a record like Chetna. record for approval. But then I select the industry as something as finance, right? And just by this, I'm saving this record. क्या ये रिकॉर्ड अप्रूवल में आया? नहीं आया. अपने आप आया? नहीं आया. हाँ, if you wanted this to be get submitted manually, तो आप सबमिट करो. बट ऑटोमेटिकली ये अप्रूवल प्रोसेस में नहीं आया. क्यों नहीं आया? बिकॉज जब ऑटोमेशन फायर हुआ, उसने इंडस्ट्री चेक किया. इंडस्ट्री के वैल्यू फाइनेंस है, इट्स नॉट बैंकिंग. तो उसने इसको अप्रूवल को, इस रिकॉर्ड को सबमिट नहीं किया अप्रूवल्स के लिए. सो दिस कैन ऑल्सो बी डन लाइक दिस. ठीक है. तो हम वी कैन क्रिएट द बिजनेस ऑटोमेशन. हु आस्क्ड दिस क्वेश्चन? किसने पूछा था ये? भाग्यश्री?
Yes,
चेतना
sir.
कौर? ओह, थैंक यू सो मच. एवरीवन शुड से थैंक्स टू भाग्यश्री. सो अभी नहीं बोलना रे, बाद में बोलना. तो you can submit you can submit the record for approvals automatically as well. For that you have to take the advantage of business automation. लेकिन ये वर्कफ्लो से नहीं हो सकता. वर्कफ्लो में केवल 4 एक्शंस होते हैं ना. क्रिएट अ न्यू रिकॉर्ड, असाइन अ टास्क, और आपका आउटबाउंड मैसेजेस, ईमेल अलर्ट है ना. उसमें कहीं भी अप्रूवल, सबमिट फॉर अप्रूवल इज नॉट देयर. So this could be done, but with the process builder and flows only. Flows से और process builder से ही हो सकता है. So this is how, we can submit the record either manually or automatically as well. When you go automatically, you have to create a business automation either with your process builder या फिर flows के साथ में. So if that condition would match, it would automatically come into the approval process. All right. I hope this would help you out. Yes. Any another questions, guys?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
So actually, when we are creating a record in account, that time what is happening, that approval status वाला pick list है ना, create कर रहे था. मतलब हम admin नहीं है, एक कोई user है जो कि record create कर रहा है. तो वहाँ पे काजल थोड़ा म्यूट कर. तो वो जो पिक लिस्ट है, तो वहाँ पे जो क्या है, रिजेक्टेड है, देन इन प्रोसेस और अप्रूवल है. तो वो क्यों आ रहा है? यहाँ पे नहीं, जब क्रिएट कर रहे हैं तब.
क्या क्रिएट कर रहे हैं आप?
रिकॉर्ड अकाउंट्स में जाके जब रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, न्यू रिकॉर्ड. ओके. तो यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे अप्रूवल स्टेटस के पास ये हम लोग क्यों करेंगे? मतलब कोई जो यूजर है वो क्यों करेगा?
हाँ, तो हटा दो इसको, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं.
नहीं, मतलब वो नहीं चाहिए ना एक्चुअली वहाँ पे.
हाँ, नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन मैं अगर यहाँ से अभी हटा दूंगा इसको, तो फिर अभी फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने इसको हटा दिया यहाँ से. ठीक है. आई जस्ट रिमूव दैट एंड आई सेव्ड इट. अभी फॉर एग्जांपल अभी ये एक रिकॉर्ड था. ठीक है. तो इसका फिर दिक्कत ये हो गई कि यू सबमिटेड दिस रिकॉर्ड फॉर अप्रूवल फॉर एग्जांपल.
हाँ,
ठीक है.
बट जब मैं फील कर रही हूँ तो मैं वहां से सिलेक्ट भी कर सकती हूँ ना. तो मुझे थोड़ी मतलब
we can
सिलेक्ट हो
make
रहा
it
है वो, मुझे ये
we can
बोलना है.
make it read only. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. we can make it read only. आप उसको read only बना लो ना. you what see your query is like कि ये रिकॉर्ड यहाँ से एडिट नहीं होना चाहिए. दैट इज व्हाट इज योर क्वेरी.
हाँ, ये क्योंकि
है
वो
ना.
यूजर का काम नहीं है ना. जैसे जो रिकॉर्ड बना रहा है उनका काम नहीं है. दैट इज आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू अप्रूव और मेक इट रिजेक्टेड, है ना. तो वो उनको क्यों दिखना चाहिए जो रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट कर रहे हैं? उनका जो केस है वो फाइल कर रहे हैं.
दिखेगा सबको. बस ये है कि 1 सेकेंड, इसको रीड ओनली कर. बट अगर आप सिस्टम एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हो तो इवन आफ्टर मेकिंग रीड ओनली आपको ये एडिटेबल नजर आएगा. अगर आप किसी और यूजर से लॉग इन करते हो तो दिस बिकम्स रीड ओनली. तो अगर कोई ऐसी फील्ड है which you wanted to show it over here but then you wanted कि user should not have facility to edit that, just make it read only, no problem. But being a system admin, it won't appear over here. अगर आप किसी और यूजर से लॉग इन करोगे then it would appear like a read only field. आपको नहीं दिखेगा.
Okay, sir. That is what I was asking. And one more thing is there. वो टास्क जो कल आप होम में जाके माई टास्क में वो दिख रहा था ना कि टास्क जो सबमिट हुए हैं, जैसे जो भी कर रहे थे ना, हाँ, माई टास्क में. तो ये मेरे यहाँ पे अपीयर ही नहीं हो रहा है माई टास्क में.
यहाँ से ऑप्शन सिलेक्ट करो आप, ऑल ओपन आ जाएगा. ये ऑप्शन आपका गलत है, ये वाला, इसको ऑल ओपन कर दो, आ जाएगा।
ओके 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 सर, थैंक यू।
Anything else?